Let's rock and roll, y'all.
Hello, everybody.
What's up?
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Woo!
So, by the way, this is our first show live. We've promoted it before, but we couldn't figure it out like this. So,
you're like, all right, good.
Well, we're not live as in, but people can see you. They can see us. We're live.
The world's
not
not watching yet, but they will.
So, Tyler, you won't be able to hear this, but everybody, welcome Tyler Tarr.
Thank you.
The legend.
The man, the myth. The man that showed me how to DJ one time for the one time.
Yeah, dude, that's great.
It started out.
Thanks a lot. Now we're just constantly DJing everywhere now.
It started out Quarter Daddy in Denver, and then it transmuted into Little Mayo.
Little Mayo.
And now my stage name is Sterling. I think I'm just going to stick with that. You know, I keep up with this working out thing.
I like to bring the picture you sent me, the sign behind you. That was good.
For reference, it was the lasers that said eat ass.
Bro, all right.
So many people were taking pictures of that.
It's got a certain je ne sais quoi. Anyway, so for a proper introduction, if you don't know who we are, you probably know who Tyler is, but if you don't know who we are the professional hippies, and our goal is to bridge the gap between the high achievers and the hippie woo-woo. And so every week we try to bring together either ideas or collective individuals that support bridging that gap and speaking to the meaty middle of people that want to be better day to day, but also like to have a lot of fun. And I can't think of anybody better than Tyler Tarr, right? So,
yeah. That's great.
Hey, a couple of weeks ago, we promised you guys we're going to do a giveaway, and we had a lot of support online for that. And so we really, really want to thank you guys. Every week, we're going to be rolling out something to promote the brand, promote the podcast, just to help us gain traction and help build this community. So
thanks, everybody.
We got to do our raffle.
Spin that wheel.
Oh, can they hear this?
Yeah.
Well, at least you know I'm not fronting then. Aaron!
Hit the applause button. Where's the applause button?
You got yourself some Aqua Notes, girl.
Now you'll never miss a good idea.
So, congratulations, Aaron. We appreciate you.
Thank you,
We
Aaron.
have the winner of the Plamp coming up next week. That's Brian Thomas' episode. So, because we're professional, we're a week ahead. Just stay up with that. If all you gotta do is promote it, and you might win some shit. That's the easiest way to think about it. We're a week ahead, so when we roll it out on Instagram,
just share, tag. That's it. Get a lava lamp.
send it to somebody you like. Fuck, someone you don't.
Is that Aaron Moody or Aaron Tarr?
That's Aaron Williams. Aaron Williams. Tiptoeing around, so you never know who people are these days, huh? So, no, but she's a winner. That's who she is.
Yes.
Anyway, we're going to hit you guys with the intro when we be right back with Tyler's life story, or at least some funny shit. One of the two.
Now it's fine. There's like a song.
All right, boys, let's remember our training. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We are some hippies, these are my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends. We are some hippies, these are my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends.
Welcome back.
I don't care who you are. That's a nice song.
I love that song. We worked hard on that.
Sure did.
Thank you, Thancha, again.
Yeah, sorry you couldn't hear that, Tyler. Have you heard it before? We are some hippies, we are my friends.
I got some like paid gigs yet to DJ yet or no?
No, I'm still working with that deck you gave me. That's why I hit you up about more music. I'm actually good enough now. It's kind of intimidating once you get good enough where people like to listen to you.
He's DJing at gyms.
You need to step out, get yourself the the one with the screen on it, so you don't have to use your computer anymore. You just learn Record Box. It's really easy.
Is that the one you have?
I had that one, and then now I've upgraded to the club level stuff. So it's, they're CDJs. It's a lot bigger of an investment. The one I'm talking about that you should get is kind of like the bridge between the board I gave you and CDJs. It's about $1,500. It's worth it because you don't. Well, first of all, it basically simulates 2 CDJs in a mixer like you'd have at the club, but you have you don't have to use your computer anymore, so you won't screw up and slow down your computer, and it's just not even necessary. All your music is uploaded on the thumb drive, and you plug it right in and play. And then when you move from that to CDJs, it's a seamless transition.
How'd you find? How was the difference between the CDJ and like the one that you had before that?
I mean, sound-wise, it's almost the same. The transition is seamless, except the CDJs just do the job for you. They look more intense, and each of them have their own screen instead of one screen being in the middle above the mixer. And they're just a lot more expensive. Each CDJ is like $2,300, and the mixer is like $4,000. So I have like $10K in my setup now behind me. That's a full, but that's club level. So now I can take a thumb drive anywhere in the world and just plug it in at a club and play. So I don't need anything except a thumb drive.
That's pretty sick. I was at
if you get a club gig, you can't be like, I'm bringing my little board. You have to be able to play.
No. I get that. I get that.
So hold on, I don't understand. So you have to play on their deck then, and you have to just bring your thumb drive.
Yeah. So I just had a gig last Saturday, and I just played on. They had 4 CDJs. I just plugged right in. I link it to all 4. So I'm like.
So is it pretty common then that every club has the same ish?
Yeah, they either have CDJ 1000s, 2000s, and now the 3000s are out. But I mean, the way to use them is exactly the same. There's just like extra features and effects and more capabilities, but they just kind of build off of each other. They don't ever take capabilities away. What I mean?
Yeah.
Push and play.
So you could.
Huh.
Yeah. But yeah, we house this past Saturday is pretty insane.
I saw, man. Yeah. So it's like, I mean, do you feel like you're just gonna always stay with kind of the mixing, ever get into like any production?
It doesn't interest me as much. I already. I don't know. It just takes a certain type of person. It's like, it's like an engineer versus salesperson, in my opinion. I can't sit all day and just like, mess with little stems.
Seems like all the nerdiest people are the production people.
I'd like to learn an instrument, or 2. That'd be neat. But I don't really see myself producing songs from scratch. Maybe remixing one day if someone shows me how to do it very simply, like I showed you DJing. Like you just pick the template and you add this and then do these 4 things and you got a remix, like maybe, but I can't see myself starting from scratch.
Yeah. My favorite part of DJing is showing people. I've learned a lot of stuff since you taught me. I mean, obviously just like look up YouTube videos or whatever, but when you show people and you like pull the curtain back on the black magic, that's my favorite part.
Yeah. Me too. How simple it is. You're like, it's really freaking easy. At least the basics. It's like anything else. It's obviously there's levels to it, but the basics are very simple.
Yeah.
But people probably always ask when they're fucked up. They're like, "How you do that, man?" And you're spinning. And
can you teach me? Can you teach me?
I did that this past weekend, and the one that not the one that I had to show, but the other night.
Yeah.
I was too fucked up to teach anybody else. I'm walking away from this right now because I'm too fucked up to do it.
No, I like it every now and then. I'll throw in a mix, like if I'm transitioning out to go take a break or something, and I'll throw on one of your mixes that's pre-recorded that from the music that you gave me, and people are like, dude, you're crushing it, man. And I'm like in the kitchen with them.
Yeah, do that. I have like 10,000 songs now too, so quite a bit of stuff.
Hell yeah!
Just order a thumb drive. You should get a big boy thumb drive though, like a 500 gig or a terabyte, like the flat ones, kind of. And just send it to me,
bro.
On Amazon.
I already got like I already sent you like a 260 gig one. It's only got like 40 gigs on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So yeah, send me that one back. I'll fill it up more. I forgot I gave you all that.
Dude, I've been crushing it with that.
Yeah, there's plenty of music on there. You can go for days. That's like 3,000 I gave you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. That's like a fucking month of music.
Well, the other thing too, though, is like what I learned is the easiest stuff to DJ with is the stuff in the 120 to like 122 to 125 BPMs and staying in there. And when you lose the crowd, you just throw in some stuff that they know the words to, and they come right back and you just loop back in other stuff.
Truth. Yeah. Have you DJ'd for a dance floor yet?
I mean, just at parties, like I have 2 clubs that were like totally down, but like, if I'm being honest, I got small PP syndrome. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Like, it's just so many people.
Yeah, not with that mixer, you're not ready, but you'll be ready. You're ready.
Yeah,
you got to do it. It's just like anything else. It's like you're running your first interview. You just throw yourself into it.
I'm sure you're probably crushing it now, but you ever been at a club and it was just like wah. You're like learning experience, like should not have played those songs.
Oh no, I've never had like it not work at the club, but if I've made giant mistakes at the club, like this, the 2 Saturdays ago during the show, I did 90 minutes, my buddy 90 minutes,
Yeah.
and 90 minutes. We did 2 sets each for a total of 3 hours each. And when I switched it back over to him, I was looking for my phone and I was like down below him by his knees, and I fucking hit the power.
No, you did. No, you
I
did.
turned
The worst nightmare.
No, you didn't.
People were lit, dance floors popping. I gave him a perfect song to bring into his own stuff, and I did that. And then I've had it, to where you're just in the middle of doing it, and you start to get, faded, and like my second set, and you just go to transition into a song. You put it on the wrong side, so it just hard cuts off the song that you're playing, and it just goes to the beginning of another song, and it's like everyone's like, ah. But honestly, they're like, whatever. Like
they'll figure it out.
The drop of that one hits, and you're good to go. So, and then usually I have like 50 or more of my friends there, so it doesn't really matter what I do, and they're all on Molly and shit, so you can't go wrong.
Drugs do tend to smooth out that experience, doesn't it?
It wasn't me. It was the drug guys. Don't worry about it.
And that's the trick. The guy that taught me is like, look, anyone can do it, but it's, can you do it at 3:30 in the morning on drugs with people talking in both of your ears and girls dancing around you and people asking what's happening later, and like, just, it's all, at that point, it's about not fucking up.
Yeah.
You have to be able to do it like an autopilot, and you think about the high level artists, they can do it with a whole crowd around them and they just don't mess up,
Yeah.
That's a big deal. You have to like stay with it and just not fuck up.
Well, shout out to that party that I did the other night, because it was like, what, 4:30 in the morning, and I was like, you start to get that old man back, because you've been having fun for 5 hours, you know what I mean? But you've just been hunched over, and you just take it. Yeah. It's amazing how fast time goes by when you're just mixing songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, did you have someone spinning with you so you could trade off?
No, it was just me.
We always make sure there's at least 2 to 3 DJs in the house. So we go we play hour, 2 hour sets, and then.
Tyler, I'm the only one that knows how to DJ with my friends. So
you're teaching people, you got to do it.
They want to learn, and then it comes to the whole they get fucked up part. They're like, "No, I just want to dance."
They wake up the next morning and they're like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, no, you got to have people around you that know how to do it. So we usually, and then when we have house parties like here, all of us spin. There'll be 10 of us that do. So we go 3s or 5s or sometimes 1s, but usually 3s and 5s. Like you just go play 3 tracks. So you're essentially spinning in like 15-minute increments. Mm-hmm. And we just like make a list pretty much, and we all just keep track, and like the music never stops all night, but I'm only spinning for 15 minutes every like hour or 2, which is pretty fun. Those are the best parties, because then you also get to hear all the different types of styles of music that everybody plays, and it's not just house the whole time.
We're taking notes here.
I hope you are.
You
need to get a little better. So just you take the notes.
Don't play
there.
ones. You play ones if you have someone know their music and they know yours, and you sound really good together. You have the same vibe.
Right.
Then you can go back and forth in 1s, but it's best to use 3. So it's like 1 to mix out of whatever you gave me, and then 1 of my own, and then kind of 1 to throw the alley-oop to the next person.
Yeah, I mean, it's just learning the music. When you send me a big catalog, like 3,000 songs, like my favorite part was just going through. And do you have crates? Do you use crates?
Yeah, like playlists and organize it in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you put it onto a thumb drive, I don't really know how to organize it like that, unless you did it on the computer first. But I put everything into Rekordbox and organize it in there. But once I export it out of there and put it on a thumb drive and I send it to somebody, unless I send you my exact one, I don't know. I'm not that good at it. For some reason, I can't figure out how to send it to people and have it already be in playlist.
That's
why I'm happy to give my music to anybody, because I know they're going to have to go through it and put the work in.
Yeah.
They can't just plug in and play.
But the shit that you get is pretty fire and fun. You just go through and just pick songs, and just see like, hey, what's this? What's that?
I don't even know most of my music either. I just got another 2,500 songs this weekend. But you just trust the BPM and the key. Are you mixing by key yet?
Yeah.
It helps a lot if you mix in the same key.
Yep.
If you're matching those two things, you can't really go wrong unless you have terrible music on your playlist, which you don't, because you've already gone through and made playlists.
Well, that and having music that's not ripped. Some of the songs I've come across, there was a couple that are different in volume level. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, so mark that in Serato and then stop using that track. And then just go on and buy it for $1 on Beatport and replace it, because I'm the same way. I have to constantly go through and get rid of the music that wasn't purchased.
Yeah.
But when you get from friends, in my friends at least, they've all purchased it or got it from someone who has. But yeah, you have to get out of the phase of, all music that's ripped offline, because it's unpredictable, and half the time you can't even see the waveform.
Mm-hmm.
When you're finding songs, are you just buying lists yourself, or are you just going on Spotify, going to like Discover?
Well, not Spotify, because Spotify you can't actually download the music. I mean, it says you're downloading the music, but you don't own that music. You can't put it on a thumb drive and play at a club. So I use Beatport typically, and I usually do it by artist. Obviously, like when I'm playing like Spotify or SoundCloud or Pandora or something, and I'm like at the gym or whatever, I just screenshot those songs and I go through and I end up buying those. But usually I just go by the artist, so if I like Vintage Culture is one of my favorites to use for mixing music. And so I'll just go through, and he's got a couple hundred songs on Beatport, and on Beatport, you can listen to little previews of them. You just download all the ones that you want. And another way to do it is like that I've learned is, you go to like SoundCloud and you find hour-long mixes of some of your favorite artists or whatever. And you go through your artists and you go who they like and who they post. And you go who they like and who they post, right? So you see who are your favorite artists? Where are they getting their music from? And you find yourself in kind of like a wormhole of downloading music. And that's a cool way to do it. The last way, this is a huge nugget for you, Colton, is this website I found called 1001tracklist.com, just the number 1001. And it is ridiculous. I just found it. And you could essentially look up any live set that was like ever played at like a festival or something, or even if it was like Boiler Room or a Circle set or whatever. Like I love the Lee Burridge Circle set that he plays in Omnia. And so I just type in Lee Burridge Circle, boom, pops up. It's got the full set, and you just play the set. And as it's going through the set, it goes down. It has the track list separated and a link to download every one of the fucking tracks of like in multiple ways. So it's like, it just goes to, you can see as soon as he transitions to the next song, it just poof, pops down to the next one. And you've got the exact track that he's using. You could separately look that up on Beatport and buy it, or it shows you a YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Tidal, whatever link for that same track. It's crazy. So like I had to play this set at Electric Harvest, which was like this, spiritual awakening camp out trippy thing out in the mountains. And they wanted it to be like tribal and spiritual. And I like procrastinated on the whole thing and didn't download enough music that I wanted for it. And so like 2 nights before I went on and I picked out my favorite 2 or 3 Black Coffee sets and my favorite couple Themba sets and Lee Burridge sets. And I literally just downloaded every song in these 5 sets. So it was like a total of 80 songs. And I literally just put them on one playlist, and I went there and I just mixed them I didn't know any of these tracks. I hadn't heard it. I'm like, I just know they're all good. And I just started, as I was playing them, I'm like, oh, I know this one.
You're just as surprised as the camp.
Like, where the fuck did you come out with that shit? It was like I was throwing a Black Coffee jungle house party. So there's like, the chantings and the, the vocals of like the kids chanting and the fucking crazy, sounds and shit.
Oh yeah.
Sounds like a great festival.
It was incredible. Yeah. And I played, it was like the highlight of the night. And I was like my first time playing any of it out loud. I was on the computer on the way out there, just making the playlist, just dragging it all over. And I had 80 songs. I only played like 12 of them, but they all worked out,
So
I didn't plan it. I never planned a set. I always usually pick I pick out 50 to 100 songs, and then I just go and start playing, and whatever I pick is whatever I pick.
So I saw because there's a couple other things I want to pick your brain on I don't know what your time is, but we'll figure that out. So the DJing though, obviously is something that you're super passionate about. I saw you try to do like that rooftop set. I know you had like some technical issues or whatever, but where do you kind of see like the DJing thing going? You're just kind of like following that rabbit hole and seeing what unfolds, or?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Well, so I don't really see myself being making DJing my bread and butter by any means, or doing it for money. Although I've been paid to do gigs, but it's nothing real.
Right.
I want to always have that skill, but something I'm interested in, or more than interested, we're already making some pretty dramatic steps forward, is creating a collective similar to Circle. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Circle, or no? CERCLE.
No.
They're the ones that are like, you gotta look it up. They have these incredible world-class videos of world-class DJs performing in epic locations. So they just did one with Zoo and Black Coffee and Lee Burridge, and they did one. What was the most recent? They did one with Rufus Del Sol out in Joshua Tree. Did you see that one by chance? These are incredible. So they're just like unreal locations. Like Disclosure just did one.
Actually, no, I've seen one. I can't remember the name of the guy. It was a younger guy though, in London.
Lee Bomer just did one out of a hot air balloon. What's his name? Cascade just did one like on a little bridge hanging over the Grand Canyon. Zeus was in Japan, like on a cliffside. So they just find these insane locations, and they bring in these world-class artists, and they have it's either 0 people are there, or it's like under 50, and those tickets are like invite only, like 20 grand each or more. But they're live streamed, and millions of people tune into the live streams, and at the same time as their live streams are obviously recorded, and then they're all played millions of times for the years to come. And so I think that's the future of the music industry. With COVID, at least, I don't know if it'll ever come all the way back. Who knows? Obviously, no one could predict the future. But at first, I remember when COVID hit, and everybody was complaining and saying, or scared for the musicians, like, oh, what about the starving artists? What's going to happen to them? Or like even high and A-level and B-level artists that travel around and their bread and butter is going on tour. Like, what's going to happen to them? Well, then I'm like, I don't actually feel bad for them at all, because there's nothing stopping them from performing in their living room and having 3 million people watching them live pay $1 each. And so now, instead of $50K for a show, they can make millions from home. And it's already been proven 100 times over since COVID hit that people will pay for these live streams. What prevents them from being that cool is production quality. You can't just have one angle and one, and then just like a cord plugged into the computer and expect people to pay. Maybe they'll do $1, or maybe they'll donate. I'm sure you saw some of the live streams when COVID first hit, and they were raising money for causes and charities.
Mark
like
Rubio did that a lot.
It's huge, right? And so, but now it's like, now I'm talking about next level stuff. And these guys that I know have a full studio. I'm thinking about what these guys are talking about is making it a fully interactive festival experience. So you as the viewer can choose what angle you're watching with your iPhone, right? So you've got an app on your phone that's connected to your TV. You paid $5 or $25 or $100 or $2 or whatever to be a part of this thing. It's just like pay-per-view. If you could try to rip the UFC fight the day after it happened, but you really can't. If you didn't watch it live, you're not going to see it for a couple months. You could hear about it, you'll see highlights of it, but you weren't there for the fight. And people still pay $75 to watch them at home, and bars and clubs pay thousands to show them to tons of people. This will be the same exact situation, but with artists, right? So if you've got, and you could even have a free part. So you got 4 or 5 DJs that are free, and then boom, Tiesto's about to come up. So a little paywall pops up, and you got to pay $9.99 to watch the stream. And people are all going to pay it, right? It's already connected to your Venmo, your payment information. So it's just a click. Yes, we'll watch it, and you're good. And then once you're watching it as the viewer, you can choose to be behind him, looking out of the crowd, right? And the crowd is a super exclusive group of people that all know that they're going to be on this live stream, and it's going to be, a video that people will watch for decades to come. So you could be watching right over his hand, so you could watch him spin. You could be outside in the fucking smoker's patio. You could be in the crowd. There's someone with this, steady cam cruising through the crowd, and you could tune into that guy's, or you could just say automatic and let the controller do it, and they'll basically just keep bouncing around between different angles, and so you're enjoying the show. My buddy JJ is starting a company on top of that. That if you have Sonos and you have Philips Hue lighting in your house, they can actually, you could just opt in and they can connect to the lighting in your house and control the lights in your house with the show live, right? And so I do see myself being a part of a business like that. I do. I'm very excited about, building a community of people that are like-minded, that love this type of music and are, have the means to travel and go see it, to basically go on these epic exclusive parties, like rent out a yacht and have a world-class artist play a set, and have, just an exclusive 150 or 200 people on it, and have it live streamed all over the world, and have people paying to see that live stream. So you got millions of people that will pay a nominal fee to see these live streams. And then obviously, a few hundred people that will do anything to be, there, a part of the experience live. And that's the future, I think, of the entertainment industry, at least a part of it. Maybe live festivals and shows come back. Maybe they don't. I know they are in some senses. But regardless, this is definitely going to be a real thing.
So for everyone that doesn't know, by the way, like, you say that as your friend, I'm like, that's fucking crazy because I can see you doing it. But the people that don't know you, they have no fucking clue how many things you already have your hands in. So this is like a super easy layup into, like, okay, so we got what? Cincy? Like, what all do you have going on right now on top of DJing? I mean, it's like, dude, every time I turn around, you're starting something new.
Yeah, usually when I say all the things I do, I don't include DJing, by the way. So it's not really a
too late.
It's definitely, but it's a passion that takes up a lot of your time, right?
Yeah, so. I have a lot of DJ friends that are putting on these events and have all the equipment. And
what's your DJ name, by the way?
Hot Tea.
Hot
Tea.
Hot
Tea.
Awesome.
Yep.
At least it's not a tea bag.
So people all bring tea bags to my show. My main gig is, to kind of in order. My main gig is Sensi Magazine, Sensi Media Group. I'm the founding publisher, so the first publisher of a Sensi Magazine, which is the Denver Boulder market. We're in 13 cities now, live and have publications going out monthly, and dozens more kind of in the making. We started that in 2015 and got over 100 people on the team, and we built very, very quickly and a lot of strength. And that's been a lot of fun and made a lot of connections and been an awesome time for me. The second thing, and now becoming probably just as taking up just as much bandwidth as the first, is Harvest. So we're in Colorado only. We're a licensed medical and recreational extraction facility based out of Idaho Springs. So we do hydrocarbon extraction, which in layman's terms for the stoner just means we make everything with hydrocarbons like butane, propane, and CO2. We make butter, batter, shatter, wax, live resin, distillate, sauce, you name it. If it has to do with cannabis extracts, we make it. We put it in cartridges and in jars, and we sell it to dispensaries around the state. We picked up that license in late 2017, and we just, for 7 months in a row now, are the number one dabbable concentrate company in the state of Colorado based on total grams sold. We have an incredible team. We also have a medical and recreational extraction license. Cultivation. We have the 2 licenses for extraction. We also have them for cultivation. And we just recently picked them up for retail in the last 8 months. Well, over 8 months ago, we acquired that license, but in the last 8 months, we raised $1.2 million, and we're in the middle of building a beautiful dispensary sitting on the highway right on the side of our property in Idaho Springs. Sits right on I-70, which is cool, in the middle of the mountains, like it's kind of a sweet canyon.
Grab your bag on the way to Brick.
Exactly. Yeah, we're the first and only dispensary that has signage on I-70 on your way out to the mountains from Denver to really any of the dozen or so skiing resorts out there. So we'll be open by July 1st is our goal. We're ahead of pace right now, so that's good news. But yeah, so we have basically the major 6 licenses that you could have, and 6 of the 8. The only things that we don't have is distribution, which is like transportation, and testing. But we have the other 6 of medical and recreational, extraction, cultivation, and retail. So that's a gig of mine. I'm a partner and one of the 4 co-founders of that company called Harvest Labs. Also I've got a CBD product line called Savvy, which I'm one of 7 partners and named the CEO of that. We make CBD and we sell it to, we make CBD products and we sell it to all online through our website to all 50 states. Website is Stay Savvy. Savvy spelled SAVVI, so it's kind of like a weird way of spelling it for the domain. But we make tinctures, topicals, capsules, things like that, pet stuff, and that's a cool, fun project with some friends. Also a small owner and marketing director, and a little farm that we have in a city called Parker. It's about an hour south of me here in Denver. It's just an 8-acre hemp farm. Hemp kind of took a dump as far as the value of it because of the farm bill passing, which is great news for the consumer, and I fully support it. But 1 million times more hemp was grown, over the last 2 years has ever been grown before. So rightfully so, we knew it was kind of a short window. So that business is kind of fizzling its way out. So that's been my main 4. Then recently I decided to start a real estate collective, which I'm just in the very beginning phases of, and planning to purchase some homes in and outside of Tulum, Mexico. So I could start spending about half my time down there. And the goal is to raise $1 million and pick up between 2 and 4 properties and use them as investment properties and event centers, and short-term rentals, and timeshare type stuff with the group of investors that we have. So that's most of them. Yeah.
God damn.
I'm glad you could find time to fit in God's word, homie.
Wow.
Out there doing God's work.
Yeah.
Was this always like what you want? Like you were just like, I'm going to have this path and just got into it, or has it, you moved out of Colorado?
Cannabis?
Yeah, cannabis. Yeah. You were just like, this is my dream. Going to get into it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, in some ways, I mean, I didn't actually always know that, I'd say, but it is something that I've been passionate about since I was young. And people say, how'd you get in the weed industry? The truth is I started selling weed when I was 15 and I never really stopped, And I got,
For all you college weed sellers out there.
Amen, brother.
There is a dream.
5 times for the same thing, basically, and it never slowed me down. I'm just like, all right, how do I get out of here? Great, now I have another case, and then typically fight the case and win, and just keep doing it. And then now I have a license to do everything I've been arrested for.
Did you move to Colorado to do all this, or did you grow up there?
Well, so I was in the cannabis industry far before Colorado, but when I was involved with the political side of things in Florida. On the campaign for medical marijuana when we were first petitioning to put it on the ballot. And I was very vocal about that. So I'm on social media, out in busy places and with signs up and trying to collect petitions to put it on the ballot. And then I got certified to register people to vote with absentee ballots and things like that. And that was my thing for a while also, kind of in the gray market in Northern California. I had a little piece of property in a house with a friend of mine, and we were growing weed and trying to sell it to dispensaries out there through the kind of weird program that they had where you could have 99 plants if you had a med card out there. So I was kind of doing both those things at the same time, Florida and California. And then we kind of kept ramping up the California thing. And then in 2015, it got raided and they took 8 of us in, and it was a whole ordeal so basically I was out on bail and fighting 5 charges, and it seemed pretty uneconomical to keep flying back and forth to California every month just to go to court dates. So I needed a different home base than Florida. And I took the opportunity and was essentially headhunted by an old colleague of mine to help him start this cannabis lifestyle magazine in Colorado. So I came out here in July of that year. Yeah, so that's how I ended up in Colorado. That's essentially, yes, I got us headhunted to help start Weed magazine, and I had already turned that gig down, but then I called him back and said I changed my mind because I was in jail. I wanted a better path.
Yeah.
What a journey. Wow. And you just kept pushing forward too, just finding the path you needed to go that was best working for you.
Yeah, every time I got slapped on the wrist or harder, I never really felt like I was doing anything wrong, you know. And now that the world is kind of coming around, at least the country is coming around to that idea of thinking that it's not really a criminal activity to consume cannabis, and in fact, it's a medical activity for many. And so I never really felt bad about it. I never felt bad about profiting from it or growing it or packing it or smelling it or talking about it or any of it or possessing it, and that was it. So applying for the licenses out here, they're like, you're really applying with this whole rap sheet of these things? And I'm like, well, first of all, I didn't get any of them. None of them are convicted. And just read it. It's possession, conspiracy, possession, conspiracy, cultivation, possession, conspiracy. It's like growing weed, having weed, or talking about growing and having weed, right? That's all I ever did. So
that's why we all moved here, right? What's the problem?
You're like, this is what you want.
This is my resume.
It's not a fucking rap sheet. This is my resume.
And it turned out to kind of be like I was nervous when I first started selling ads for the magazine. I'm like, man, what am I going to tell people? And then I realized it was kind of like a resume. Because out here in the legal industry, that's where everybody came from, is the black or gray market before it came above ground. Mm-hmm. That's where all these the owners that I work with now came from.
Yeah, it's just like how they just decriminalized mushrooms in DC, right? Like, I'm kind of curious what your take is on that whole movement, but like, where do they expect like the shit to come from, right? It's not like it's decriminalized and they're like, oh, found some in the closet over here. It's like, no shit, right? It's like bringing that out to light. So like, there's a big movement going on with legalizing psilocybin. Obviously, the FDA is doing clinical trials to reschedule MDMA and psilocybin alike, and that's coming a few years down the road. But have you seen any kind of effects? Like, is Denver, they decriminalized mushrooms too, didn't they? Yeah,
so mushrooms have been decriminalized for quite some time now. And yeah, you don't have a bunch of 17-year-olds running around the streets, tripping balls and running into cars. So yeah, I think it's just fine. People need to understand the difference between decriminalizing and legalizing.
Right.
I think that Portland is basically legalizing it, from my understanding, that soon enough they will be able to purchase them over the counter in some way through some sort of license acquisition, which is great, I think. And so I guess what you're asking is Colorado's take on it. It's, to me,
I'm curious what your take is on it. I'm curious like how you view that, because on one hand you have cannabis, right? And then, you taught me how to DJ the night we went to the Sam Feldt concert, and you bought allegedly some acid from a homeless man that I took. So, like,
nice.
Wow.
I'm a libertarian. I'm a firm believer that all drugs should be decriminalized at the very least, if not legalized and regulated, because you can't really prevent people from harming themselves. And if you're a supporter of, protecting people from themselves, then the most addictive and deadly substance that I know of is nicotine. And I was addicted to nicotine for 13 years, pack a day. So, and it does nothing for anyone, right? So if things are Schedule I drugs because they're addictive and they're deadly, and they have no medical value, then that should be the most illegal thing on the planet. Should be nicotine. It should be like a fucking life sentence for consuming or selling or anything that has to do with tobacco, right? But if that was the case, I don't think that it would slow down the rate of nicotine consumption at all. The things that bring down that rate are education and alternatives and this and that. It's not by making it illegal. So if you made cigarettes illegal tomorrow, what would actually happen?
Black
I think you'd have just as many.
Booming.
We'd create this entire industry. I'd probably, then people would probably get into growing tobacco and making their own cigarettes, and you'd have people shipping pounds of tobacco across the states, and you'd create gangs and violence and all this stuff around it, and you'd have a bunch of kids going to jail because they're addicted to nicotine, just because you're trying to stop them from hurting themselves, and none of it actually works.
That should be the example used of what would happen. The difference between making everything else legal and not. Like, what if we made this illegal? It would just go back to what's happening now.
Right? And then that would mean if someone attempted suicide and then they failed, then they should, get an attempted murder charge. Like, if you're really, and then you could say the same thing about alcohol. If you're really trying to, now again, if you drink alcohol and you get in a car and you drive, you endanger other people, you've now committed a crime, right? And it's the same thing with with cannabis, or even if it's something more intense, let's say like meth, right? Yeah, I'd say decriminalize meth. It doesn't mean I'm saying like we should sell meth over the counter, like every kid should like have access to meth. But
right,
if my next door neighbor is doing meth and fucking cleaning their house, I don't care. If they run out of meth and then they come steal my car or something out of it to buy more meth, then they've committed a crime.
Right.
But if it doesn't affect me, I don't care what they're doing, right? And you make laws around, having it out in the open and public decency and things like that, but not on possession and consumption of something for yourself. Same thing with, and you can also even make laws around, selling it or cultivating it or promoting it. Those things can be not good, right? Just like Colorado did with cannabis, like you can't have a big, nug like that, outside of a dispensary. It can only have a green cross, and it can't even be higher than your store, and you can't advertise in any method that can be seen by people under 21, and you can't have and that's how it should be for everything. But in theory, if that's the case, I think alcohol law should be the same. I mean, NASCAR cars are cruising around with Bud Light all over it. I think that we should treat alcohol the same way that we do cannabis. It needs to be not so available. It should be available for purchase in liquor stores, and with an ID.
And do you feel that way because of what's going on with cannabis? So you feel like, hey, we should treat everything fairly, or do you feel like, hey, we should put green crosses way up there with the ABC liquor signs?
I think that you should even them out, because if I was a parent, and I had elementary school kids, like I don't want them seeing a ton of stoner stuff advertised to them. But I also feel the same way about alcohol. I don't think that they should be able to just, the Super Bowl should just have commercials for booze and stuff so easily. I think they should have to play by the same rules.
Would you get a NASCAR car?
Treated differently. What'd you say?
Would you get a NASCAR sponsorship if they were like, we allow this now?
If they allowed it, yeah. I mean, our magazine, Sensi probably would try. Maybe. Harvest only in Colorado, so it wouldn't make a lot of sense for our dollars. If we were in every,
is hot tea slowly heading towards Dan Bilzerian land, where it's like you'll have sponsored NASCAR and fucking bikini lines, and
you got the Clydesdales. Yeah. You're on top of one, just smoking a joint. Cut to NFL Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah, but and so in Colorado they do it right though. To my knowledge, if you have, the same thing as in California, if you have less than, I think it's different per each drug, but I believe in Colorado it's 7 grams. So if you have less than 7 grams of any methamphetamine or any drug, and it's not individually bagged and it's not connected with another crime, so you're not like you're carrying a gun without a CWP or something. If it's like you're just walking into a club and they pull out your wallet and you've got an 8-ball of cocaine, or you've got a strip of acid, or you got a little bag of mushrooms, or even if you had each of those, but they weren't individually bad and you didn't have a scale and something like that, then it's a misdemeanor, non-arrestable offense, fine up to $1,000, which means usually you don't even get that. But at the most, they could give you essentially a written arrest, can't take you to jail, and then you go and you pay a fine, and that fine goes through the system, and that money goes to education for drugs. Just like they're doing in Portland. They're taking the money and they're putting it into that. But I remember Oregon. Remember when Oregon first passed all that, everyone's like, well, I support that with mushrooms and, maybe with coke, but meth and heroin, it's like, you can't be for one and not the other.
Right.
It's not like you're not promoting and condoning those things because you're saying that those people aren't criminals. But you tell a person who's doing heroin in a fucking alley somewhere with their arm wrapped up, and you're like, hey, by the way, that is very illegal. They're not like, oh no shit, like fuck, I gotta stop. They don't care. The legal status of it changes nothing, and in Portugal they already did it, and it's working. You make those things decriminalized, and you give people a way to, and they even have places in Portugal where you can get access to it if you prove that you have little to no income. And then they take all that money and they do education seminars at those places to help get people off of them. And no one is proud of it. They're not like, oh, I can't wait to go back and get, they're there because they're an addict and they know it. And this is the way that they have access to it. But because it's decriminalized, there's not a criminal market for it. So it's not even available on the streets. So they're ashamed when they go into these places, and that helps them kind of wean themselves off of it. But
that'd be great to know the stats on that. on like where that money goes to the facilities, and then how much those facilities use it, and the fact that like I wonder what the drug rate is once it's decriminalized.
Well, the thing that I've seen,
goes down,
especially from like because I mean, shit, this is the first year I haven't been up there to visit you in probably like 4 years. So every year going up there, I would learn different things about the cannabis industry. And the thing that I've seen, especially in the cannabis industry, that I think will naturally spill over into any other industry that pops up, you know, surrounding treatment for PTSD with MDMA or psilocybin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, is you see how much the people in the industry really care. Like you walk into a dispensary and you don't have, if you like get ahead of that line or something, they're like, hey, fuckface, get in line. Like, I mean, it's like real intense, you know, because they want to make sure that there's no chance some asshole is going to ruin it for everybody. And unfortunately, it's got to be airtight like that. But I think inside those facilities, inside those treatment centers, it's the same way. It's like, hey, they're going to do whatever they can to further that movement, because by being associated with that facility, they care deeply about that movement. They care about really helping the people.
Yeah, it's social workers, volunteers, people are trying to help people. So, and I think in time that we're going to move those directions. I mean, and obviously it's easiest to start with things like cannabis that is essentially, you know,
it's a gateway.
It's really hard. It's marca. It's like impossible to hate. Like it really doesn't. There's almost nothing wrong except make people hungry, happy, and sleepy. So it really, truly, I believe it's God's intended medicine. So cannabis is an easy one to win. Once we prove that we can do it in all these states and the sky doesn't fall, you can move on to things like mushrooms. But obviously, you could eat a lot more mushrooms and you can put yourself in a pretty crazier position than you did if you, just smoked a lot of weed. But in the end, it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to kill you. You're just going to be tripping your tits off.
It's pretty wild with my family that, you know, growing up in a very Christian lifestyle, growing up and you take a weed plant and you put it next to like an Advil pill. And you're like, which one do you think is better? And they're like, well, the Advil pill. And I'm like, what do you think of that? They're like, that's sin or something. And you're like, you realize that one kills you and that one doesn't, right? Like if you do too much of that, and if you can't do too much of that.
I don't know. What's the most milligrams you ever eaten, Tyler? What?
You know me, I'm not really that much of a consumer these days, but for me, probably 100, and that's fun. I mean,
I just figured one of these days you would have caught a wild hair and decided just to surf the sun or something.
He sells it.
Send me a shipment. I love mushrooms, but I don't really enjoy tripping that much anymore. So with mushrooms, I'm the microdoser.
Yeah.
I took a little day. So I'll go multiple days in a row where I'll take a 0.1 to a 0.25, somewhere in that range. And to me, it's like an all natural Adderall that makes me not feel like crap the next day and makes me a little bit more creative. But I try not to really trip.
How's your experience been with microdosing?
Yeah.
I think it's been great. Like I said, it gives me a lot of energy. I don't need I don't get that middle of the day kind of tiredness. And I feel more creative and I get more done. As long as I do it 3 to 4 days on and 2 to 3 days off. I've done that for a couple months before. I kind of stopped recently. I don't really know why. And then just in the last few days, I picked it back up. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot about doing these, So subtle that if I don't remind myself, I don't even think to do it. Because a lot of times I don't think I could feel it, but it's like a mindset shift. It's not really anything I'm feeling. Like a vitamin, you don't really feel the vitamin.
Do you whenever because I guess it also depends on what you ate that day or what you drank or how you're just feeling overall. Do you ever feel like sometimes you take a microdose, but then it's a little more than you thought it would be?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, damn, I had this meeting. I don't know if I can do that meeting anymore.
I'm like, yeah, I started looking at everything. I'm like, oh man, here we go. But it's usually small enough to where we're good.
Yeah,
you got a new spot, Colton. You're gonna love it out here.
Yeah, man. I saw you were doing some construction or something. You, what were you building?
We just built a 5-car garage out there. That's pretty cool. So we finally get some toys and have some space. I have an acre, so there's no more noise complaints, which is really nice.
What type of cars do you have? What type of cars do you have?
I have a Tahoe, a Audi TT little stick shift, and a Hyundai Sonata. So I'm probably getting rid of the Hyundais. Really have like the big Tahoe and I got the little TT.
Yeah.
I had to do it. So, and I miss driving the stick. So I just recently picked that one up. And it's an old 2003. Just bought it cash and drove it back. Bought it in California. Drove it back. Stopped in Vegas. Made almost as much money in Vegas to pay for the car.
Oh yeah, let's fucking talk about this man hustling and gambling. Jesus Christ Almighty, man.
I do like to gamble. But yeah, so this spot though, Colton, you got to check it out. It's like an old. I think it used to be a halfway house, and then I think it was a firehouse, but not like.
How fucking appropriate, bro! How fucking appropriate. He said it was an old halfway house.
Yeah, it was. So it was built in the 50s by like some country music singer songwriter supposedly who had like a farm, and then I think that part of the farm was turned into the rest of the house because the house has clearly been built in sections and doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then it was a halfway house, and then it was like most recently it was like a fire station for like the firefighters that are like on deck. They're like not on the clock at the station. They're like one level behind them. And so there's 7 rooms, but there's no master. They're all pretty much identical in size. So 7 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, but none of them have like their own ensuite bathroom. They're all separate. And it's just really, and it's fire engine red. And there's like, the ceilings are only like 7-8 feet at the most. And it's like the brightest, reddest house you've ever seen. It's all one level. So there's no basement, which is really rare out here, but which is nice because we can jam the subs as loud as we want, and the sound doesn't carry as much. And outside of the house, you can't hear anything, and I have no neighbors, so it's pretty great.
That sounds pretty great. Sounds pretty great. I had an Airbnb this past weekend, and we came home from going out or something, and have you seen any of the Instagram or the Snap or whatever? I mounted that fucking laser in the middle of my living room.
Yeah, I did see that one.
So
I need to get one. It's pretty great.
Yes, you do. We know a guy.
Yeah, we know a guy. We got to do a tour. When we bought the laser, we toured the facility. Sorry again, guys. It's every fucking week, but
here we go
from the top. But yeah, I could hook you up with that guy. We got to do a tour of the facility for Cavant. So they do for like Skrillex, Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber, Drake, all their production teams. We came home all fucked up at like 3 a.m. and just blaring the bass. And my Airbnb was like, we can't figure it out if it's the neighbors or you, but like if it's you, please turn down the music. And I was like, shit, I forgot. We got people. But
yeah, I'm so glad to be out of that. The last couple of buildings that I was in, that was always a problem. I was always worried about sound and neighbors, but not anymore.
Well, it's just the Airbnb, by the way, because where I live, it's gentrifying. So there's like straight up gangs that hang out like right over there. And I'll be on sales calls. And like, here's the thing that I love about my neighborhood. So the gangbangers are kind of like a couple streets down. The guys over here are kind of like the OGs, whatever. So they'll blare some music, but it's just tasteful R&B. Honestly, I'm not even mad. It's just like I kind of get down with it. I'm like, all right, I can dig it.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever file a noise complaint my entire life. I've done way too much of the other end. So
right.
No matter how bothered I am, I figure out a way to get through it, which is pretty rare for me to be bothered by that. But if I wasn't, just like headphones, rain sounds, whatever I got to do, I'll leave if I have to.
Yeah.
I would never.
Yeah, it's never been much of an issue. So yeah, man. I mean, to kind of bring it back around. So you kind of told us a little about your projects, but I mean, what's on the horizon for you? What are you most excited about? And what's coming up? I mean, you can even use this as an opportunity to promote.
Like I said, I'm most excited about splitting my time between here and Tulum. I was, blown away by. I took a solo trip there to get some time to myself. Spent about an hour to myself.
Yeah, how was that?
Failure in that sense. Yeah.
How loud did the voices get in your head?
I took the taxi from the airport from Cancun to Tulum. Met people within about an hour of being there and didn't spend one moment alone. It was great. But I had met all these new incredible people from all over the world, mainly South Africa and London, and Canada, and Chicago. Just like this huge group, couple groups, and spent almost 2 weeks out there, and just left so inspired to get into the real estate out there right now. It's just blowing me away.
Yeah.
The things that you can get for 300 and 400 and 500K are just mind-boggling. You know, steps from the beach, built like off the land, jungle bamboo stuff, but everything's like epic and classy. And
I saw Peter Voog just had his shit built out there, right? Have you seen his stuff?
Did you really? I didn't know that. I need to hit him up. I mean, anyone that's going down there is like, yep, this is the new spot. So
yeah, he just had like his investment property just finished.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Ibiza of this side of the world. You know, just the music acts that are coming through there, and the caliber of people, and obviously the weather and the beaches and all those types of things. But even compared to the rest of Mexico, it's just on another level. So that's what I'm really excited about. Is splitting my time between the places, because I've got the ability to essentially work from anywhere. So
I love how you're splitting your time, but you're also making it, you know, all right, I want to go down there. I want to stay down there and split my time. But while I'm at it, let's make some money while I'm down there.
Yeah, I'm going to work down there. I'm not just
for sure
hang around.
No,
yeah, work and play.
Things that I enjoy, so I never really feel like I'm working. I always make sure to never commit myself to it like a real job. It's just something I don't have to worry about.
But I think something I definitely wanted to make a point from earlier is just like kind of bringing in like the real and raw from your story, because I've known you for I don't know, about a decade now, honestly. So one of the things that I've always like really respected about watching your journey unfold, especially in the beginning stages of when you moved to Denver, is that it wasn't like, I think it'd be really easy if someone's just hearing all this shit to go like, wow, you're just like this amazing guy that has it all figured out, right? But really it's been a culmination of like fucking persistence, man. I mean, the first year when you were there grinding out the Cincy magazine, that was intense. I mean, you were very real when I came up there, and you're just like sharing with me how many appointments you were doing around like the social settings of going out was also prospecting, you know? So it wasn't like, you know, so it's like you had an idea, you saw the vision, and you were relentless about executing that. I mean, like, I'm up there fucking go party and have a good time, and you're like, yeah, dude, let's go have a good time. You're making connections. I see it happening. We're like on the fucking dance floor. We're at a bar. It's like you're making connections with people. And then it's like 3:00 in the morning. We end up passing out. And I wake up to the sound of scrambling eggs at fucking 7:30. And I'm like, who the fuck? Like, who broke in and is making breakfast? And you're like, oh, let's go, dude. We got to go to the zoo or some shit. You know, it's like the fact, like, you definitely have an engine, man. But it's not just when you moved to Denver. It was before that. Like, obviously us meeting in Cutco. And, I distinctly remember Matt King, our division manager, telling me, do not copy what Tyler does. I had to drive from Pensacola to Jacksonville to train with Katie, because you were the only one allowed to train people the way that you trained people. So you've definitely always had a knack for people. But I think the one thing that I want to make sure people really understand about you is that, like, you're definitely a message of fucking persistence. You know what I mean? Like that rap sheet shit earlier. It's like, well, you had a vision, you had an idea, and you're like, you know, fuck these people for persecuting me for thinking I'm wrong when I'm just trying to do what I think is right.
Yep, a lot of failures for sure. Just like you, bro.
One big failure.
Right here.
No, had lots of failure. That's what makes you better, you know?
Yeah.
I appreciate the recognition, though, bro.
Man, I gotta tell you though, when I came up for New Year's,
do you remember
a couple of years
Dylan,
ago?
by the way, Tyler?
Familiar? I don't know.
That was a hell of a time. Woo!
What year New Year's was it?
Huh? 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
That was when everyone was dressed to the fucking nines, and
Yeah.
you told us all we needed to get was like a top hat.
Yeah, just wear a top hat and show up to this place.
And we look like a couple of college jackasses around like super hot, you know, Playboy bunnies and shit. And we're like, sweet, Tyler, thank you, man. It's great. Everyone's in 90s or 60s tuxedos, and you know, no, it was cool. But
yeah, no, we did the 1920s theme. That's what it was.
20s, yeah.
It was like, no, just show up. Hoodie.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Be fine.
Most people probably don't even get dressed up anyway. Everyone. I'm not even exaggerating. Everyone was dressed up to the nines.
Yeah, that was a banger. That was a good one at Rose's house.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I got to do, so when you explained that rule, now I understand, because I DJ'd a couple nights with you, and you're like, yeah, I spent a couple tracks, and I got 3 tracks, and some guy said something to me, and basically treated it like it was like basketball. It's like, get the fuck off the court now, your time's up. And I was like, I wasn't doing bad. Actually, people were liking it, and now I understand there was a rotation established.
That was Nico DJing when you were doing it, and he was doing it. Yeah, that's a perfect example when we do the threes.
No, but now I understand it. Then I didn't. I just thought I was fucking up. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, oh, okay, my bad.
No.
I was like, that's all good. Oh, that's cool.
Just this turn. That's great.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Rose. I'm down closer to her spot now, actually. So.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, some of that good $2 million, $3 million, $4 million Denver real estate, can't beat it.
Man, one thing I wanted to bring up for you were talking about for Florida, right? On trying to make things recreational here. What I know it's medically, but like whatever happened to that? We had the Morgan & Morgan guy all about it for a while. We had like it was trying to blow up.
Yeah, he funded the campaign that I was working on, or there was a part of. And I mean, it did that passed. I mean, first it failed and came back and it passed, and that's what you guys got. And I haven't really spent. I've only been down in Florida for snippets of 2 or 3 days since I moved from there. I get there a couple times a year, and I've never seen the dispensary. I've never.
I mean, as your motto goes, sorry to interrupt, but what's your motto when it comes to Florida? It fucking sucks, something like that. It's got there's a certain ring to it. Every time I come to Denver, you make sure I know how much Florida fucking sucks. So
I never say Florida sucks. I just say I think it's probably like old people and mosquitoes.
Everyone shits on Florida. They're ready to have fun.
Colorado better. I'm like, how about this? No mosquitoes and no old people. That's about all I gotta say.
Just cold.
I think I go back for weddings and funerals. Maybe it was that. I do enjoy Florida.
It's a great
state. I'll probably have. I think it's a great place to retire. I really do.
It's a great place to die. Sure.
Yeah, I think it's a great place to be old, for sure. The weather is very predictable and beautiful and consistent.
I'm not asking you to make up for all your past.
That's what I'm best about Florida is that it's got a lot of tax dollars. So you got great roads, great cell phone towers, and great weather. And I like to party in certain parts of it, Jacksonville and Miami. But other than that, I probably wouldn't want to own real estate or spend too much of my time there until I was much older. I do love partying though in like Miami Beach and stuff.
Gotta come to Tampa, St. Pete.
Yeah, it's a good spot too. I like South Tampa. I like Ybor City. Had a couple crazy nights out there. Had our wedding in Tampa too, which was really cool on the boat. So I definitely have Florida in my blood, and I'm glad I'm from there. But I don't really see myself spending too much time.
Where in Florida are you from?
I'm from Coral Springs, which is just north of Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
That's where I stay. I mean, I lived kind of everywhere: Coral Springs, Boca, Coconut Creek, Parkland growing up, and then I branched in Naples, and then I moved to Jacksonville, and then Jax Beach, then Miami, and then Tallahassee, back to Jacksonville, and then here to Colorado. So
yeah, you got a little Florida man in you. You got some Florida man in you.
You have no fucking clue.
Those are the stories that stay behind off the podcast.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, what don't you want to talk about?
Those were what we were talking about.
Right.
Not to talk
about. That's but to back to the cannabis, I don't really know. You guys have to tell me. I mean, I'm assuming that
you can get your medical card and you can go to dispensaries.
It's just still so fucking expensive. It's not even convenient. You got to go through all that shit.
Right.
Huh?
So the reason why it's like that is because of the way but it was the only way to get this law to pass because of how much opposition you have and the fact that you have to get 60% to pass a law. So they kind of had to write it into a way to where you can get some support from both sides and actually win. So hopefully you can keep passing amendments and new legislation and even potentially a new law that makes it better. But the problem is from what I remember, they were setting it up to where there was only a certain number of license holders. There can be multiple licenses, but I think it was like 5 or maybe it got bumped.
It was like a lottery, and they're continuing to reintroduce more lottery every year.
Exactly. And when you say, okay, we're going to sell something as robust as cannabis, which a state like Florida with its population could probably sell close to $1 billion a year in cannabis. So if you say, an industry that size, you can only have 5 people or 5 businesses in control of those sales. You're never. It's like the power and light companies. Like they're controlling it all. There's no competition. You don't have people. There aren't brands on the shelves competing for a better product and a lower price. The dispensaries aren't trying to make your day any better. There's nothing really. You're just kind of pigeonholed. So that'll keep the black market alive until they allow for free market, or at least closer to a free market, and you allow more.
And big.
I can see the license, but Florida should have like 1,000 licenses, not 5.
Yeah.
Like Colorado's got 1,200, and we have probably 10% of the population. So 1,000 licenses would be a more normal. I mean, I don't know how many liquor store licenses are there. Probably.
I'm looking it up.
Every corner.
Yeah, right. And a lot of them are owned by the same license. So when I say licenses, means you could have one company can have 10 licenses, but in the Florida, I think they would only say, okay, 5 people can have up to 20 each.
They're making
so you
some
could
money.
have multiple locations.
Yeah, we have 200.
Yeah, they can also 200. Yeah, so this needs more. And then I don't know the process of the brands, and because I'm not really in it out there, but how they can sell to dispensaries and what limits them. From my understanding, each of those licenses has to cultivate their own and produce all of their own products in those shops. So you don't have brands popping up that can sell to the dispensary. So it'd be like going to every liquor store, go to ABC, but it's only ABC booze, right? You can't Jack Daniels and Grey Goose can't sell their product on those shelves. And so until you allow for infused product manufacturing licenses to be acquired, then you're not going to have cool brands, coming up with cutting edge products for great prices. You just have these mammoth type companies producing everything from seed to sale, and it's not the most ideal way to do it. But the fact is that the sky has not fallen. I bet you teen smoking has not increased that's what everyone's always afraid of, is the kids are going to get so high. I'm like, bitch, I couldn't get a bottle of booze when I was in high school. It was pretty hard to get. You had to know someone.
You had to have a plug.
Yeah.
Right? To after prom, it's you had to meet some kid's older brother, something, to buy you a bottle. But I could get weed from anybody. It was everywhere. So it's you can't. You're not preventing access to high schoolers by making weed illegal. I'll tell you that. I sold weed in high school. It was pretty easy for me to get pretty sell it. And so the fact is that they're not going to see these crazy increases that the naysayers were afraid of. And once that's proven, you're going to keep seeing legislation move in the right direction for cannabis. Every time cannabis goes up on a ballot in just about any states and almost any form, it almost always wins. It's like a 90% winner these days.
Did you hear about that Nebraska governor? That was he just mentioned, he just put out on a statement earlier. He's like, marijuana will kill your kids.
That shit. Oh yeah, that shit.
He's like, we have to keep it out. It's going to kill your kids. You have to know this.
Yeah, and so that means that the best place to be selling weed right now is probably Nebraska, because you can charge the most.
Right.
Black market. That's what these people don't realize, is that you don't change the level of access. You just get tax money by legalizing. Mm-hmm. So you don't have kids running around Denver selling weed in high school anymore, right? Because their kids are just like, oh, it's at the store. It's not cool, to them anymore. It's just another thing, It'd be like trying to run around high school and sell beer. It's just not that easy.
Got to get your hand on a jewel, though. Man, they're everywhere, right?
Yeah. Kids, right? Good team.
Yeah. Well, hey, man. We appreciate having you on the show, buddy. And oh shit,
It's been fun.
That's right. So for this week, we'll
the giveaway. Yeah, we gotta bring that up.
Hey, congrats again, Aaron. So our giveaway this week with Hot Tea is going to be some CBD.
Should we get some Savvy CBD?
What's
We
that?
could do tincture. Yeah, we could do a pack of capsules and a tincture or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So all you have to do to win CBD is share this podcast. So all you gotta do, literally just share it and tag us on Instagram. You can tag me at Colton DM or Dylan at Dylan Whidden. That's it. We're not asking for your information, any of that kind of shit. Just send it to your mother, send it to your sister.
Just a little love. Just some love out there.
Just throw it out there. So we drop these podcasts every Thursday. So if what's that?
Drop them through Instagram. You drop them on Instagram, or
we announce it on Instagram, and then we also so you can get it on Apple, Spotify, Google Playlist, Amazon,
wherever you listen to.
Yeah, and if any of you motherfuckers that don't have it on your platform, just tell me. Every now and then I get someone that's like, I listen to iHeartRadio podcast streaming it. I'm like, sure, who the fuck is on iHeartRadio listening to serious shit? Like, sure, I'll put it on there for you. But if you're a normal human being and drive and read, you probably are on Apple or Spotify or something that supports that. So all you gotta do, screenshot the podcast, throw it up there, and we'll send you a goodie bag full of CBD.
Boom.
Boom.
And we love you. So
happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. This is coming out next week, but it is St. Patrick's Day we're recording this on.
It is. Happy St. Patty's Day. T, hang around for just a second so we can figure out some stuff with you. But everyone else, we love you guys. Thank you so much.
Love you guys.
Cheers.